So let's go ahead and get started for today. You are going to need 2 blocks, a blanket, and then option for a strap if you want it, but not necessary. And the first thing that we're going to do is do a little bit of prop setup. So your blocks you can just put off to the side. You will start with your blanket. And if we start with our blanket in this quartered standard fold, you're going to fold this in thirds. So you can either, and you're going to stay with it long way. So fold it in third and then third again. And then you're going to put this at the top of your space and lay down with your head on the blanket. And so once you found yourself lying down, head is on the blanket, take a moment to notice if your shoulders are still, or shoulder blades are still on the mat. So you might need to scoot down just a little bit. So just your head is on the blanket, shoulders are still on the floor. And then notice what it feels like to just slightly push down into your head and slide your shoulders wide and then maybe away from your head. And then you'll push down into your head again and slide your pelvis away from your shoulders. And then decide if you want your legs to be straight and long beneath you, if you want the knees bent, feet planted on the floor, or soles of the feet together and knees splaying out. And so you'll just take a moment to lie down here and just notice what it feels like to have the back of the body connect with the floor. And specifically, I'd like you to just notice if you notice any differences between the right and the left shoulder blade, the right and the left hip. And we'll just take 3 breath cycles here. So you might want to take a big breath in through the nose and an audible exhale out of the mouth. So Jenny mentioned some crunchiness happening in her shoulders. I found a similar thing happening in mine this week. And so we're going to just start by finding our baseline and seeing how we are, trying to unwind some things in the spine and the hips and see how that translates up into the shoulder joint. Fantastic. So as you're ready, we're going to go ahead and roll over onto our right side as though you were sleeping in your bed. So you're in your bed, you're just rolling over onto the right side. Make sure that blanket is still underneath your head. So if you need to adjust it, by all means, go ahead and do that. And then you might draw your knees a little bit closer towards your face. So you've got about a 90-degree angle happening there. Go ahead and extend the underarm out forward in front of you so it's long. And then just to check, you'll open the top arm up and back behind you for a gentle twist and just see how far that arm comes behind you. See how that feels in the shoulder. Fantastic. Once you've registered that, bring the top arm back and plant it on top. Fantastic. So now you're just going to rest here for a little bit. Your right arm is underneath, your left arm is on top. Start by sliding your left knee forward as far as it'll go, just your left knee, and then slide your left knee back. And so we're just moving the knee from the hip. So you're not straightening the leg, you're just moving the hip, you're moving the thigh forward, and you're just going to take about 5 of these. So maybe you inhale and send the pelvis forward, send the knee forward, and then exhale, slide the pelvis back, slide the knee back. And these movements might not be any bigger than maybe 3 to 4 inches, maybe even less. I'm just noticing what it feels like, just sliding the knee forward and sliding the knee back. There we go. Fantastic. And then let's go ahead. The next time you slide that hip back, go ahead and bring the hips to neutral. So knees stacked right on top of each other. And then you're going to slide your left arm forward, reaching past your right fingertips, and then draw the left shoulder back as far as you can. Yep, and you'll do about 5 of these. And so you keep that left arm straight the whole time. You slide the left fingertips forward along the floor, and then you slide the hand back, slide the left shoulder blade back, and just feeling what this feels like. Finding the movement just in the shoulder girdle, finding the shoulder blade sliding forward and back, left arm stays straight the whole time. Yep, and we'll do about 2 more of these. So keeping the left elbow straight, just sliding the left hand forward, and then dragging the left hand back. Wow, Steve, it looks like you got snow there. And then go ahead and the next time you slide that left shoulder back, go ahead and come to stillness, stacking both hands on top of each other, both knees right on top of each other. And now you're going to bring your awareness to your head, and you'll inhale and turn your nose down to the floor. And then exhale, turn the head back up towards the sky. And you'll just do about 5 to 10 of these. And so we're just like you were sliding your arm forward, you're rolling around the occipital bone in your head. So not coming up towards the top of your mat, but more looking down underneath you towards the left side of the floor, and then turning your head towards the right, if that makes any sense. So you're just rocking your head right to left. There we go, Robin. And then Barbara, you can do a little bit less. It's more just like turning over your right shoulder and then your left shoulder. And you might not get very far, and that's okay. Tiny little movement. Fantastic. And then let's go ahead, the next time you look up towards left, go ahead and come to center. Now this is going to be a little bit of a brain freeze thing. So you're going to reach your left knee forward, look towards the floor, and draw your right shoulder back. Or sorry, left shoulder back. And then you'll reverse that. So then your nose will go up towards the sky, your knee will come back, your left hand will draw forward. And then you'll do that about 5 times. So your knee and nose are going in the same direction. Your arm is the opposite one. So if your arm is going forward, your knee and nose are coming back to the left. If the arm is pulling back, then the knee and the nose are going towards the floor. And Jenny, you can do a little bit less. There you go. And you'll take one more set on your own, and these are very slow and very small. We're trying to unwind the spine in a very interesting way by working with the pelvis and this parts of the spine that are able to rotate. And then let's go ahead and come to a neutral position. Stacking knees right on top of each other, hands right on top of each other, head in neutral. On your next in-breath, I want you to drag your left fingers up and over your head and back behind you for a twist. So you're making a half circle with that left arm, dragging it along the floor, up and behind you, and twisting towards the right, or sorry, to the left. And you'll just notice if you got more of a rotation than you did before on the first side. You might turn your head over that left shoulder as well, and just take a moment to pause and breathe. Left hand can come all the way out so it's in line with your right shoulder. Yep. And then you'll continue to roll over to the left to come back onto your back. Oh, no, it's nice, Steve. And you'll just take a moment once you're back to center, re-square your pelvis underneath your shoulders underneath your head, and just notice if you notice anything different between the right and the left side, the right and the left hip, the right and left shoulder. And then gently we'll make our way over to the other side. So now you're going to have your left arm should be underneath you, right arm should be on top. Draw your knees to a 90-degree angle in front. So 90-degree angle at the hips, 90-degree angle in the shin bones. Yep. And make sure your head is in alignment with your spine. Yeah. And then from here, you're just going to start with your knees again. So you're going to drag that top knee forward and then drag it back. And you'll take about 5 to 10 of these. And the movement is really coming from your pelvis. So you're thinking of your pelvis, your right hip sliding forward, that slides the right knee forward. And then you think of drawing the right hip back, and that pulls the right knee back. And it doesn't have to be big to be impactful. Ironically enough, the smaller that this is, that's good, Julie, the more effective this becomes in terms of actually unwinding some of the muscles in the spine. There we go. Jenny, pause. Can you draw your hips and shoulders in more of one line? It looks like your pelvis is a little bit behind. There you go. and then try it again. All right. And then the next time you draw that top hip back, go ahead and pause. And then bring your awareness to your top arm. So you're going to slide your right hand forward along the left palm all the way to the floor in front of you, and then suck the right shoulder blade back, draw the right hand back. And you're keeping the right elbow straight the whole time. And just noticing what this feels like. A small little movement, making sure you're still breathing as it feels good to you. That looks good, Robin. And you're just paying attention. How does this feel? That's better, Julie. Yeah, nice work, Barbara. Good job, Steve. Yeah, that looks good, Jenny. And then the next time you draw that right shoulder back, we'll go ahead and pause in neutral. Both hands stacked right on top of each other, both shoulders right on top of each other. And now this one, let me try explaining it this way. I want you to bring your awareness to the inner part of your mouth and that little thing that drops down from the top of your mouth, imagining you're turning from there. So you'll turn your face down towards your blanket, down towards your floor. Oh, that looks better, Barbara. And then you'll turn your head up towards the sky, but you're rotating from that little thing that hangs in the roof of your mouth. Yeah, and you've got a few of these. So you'll notice that now that's a lot smaller, but you might start feeling more of the spinal muscles along the cervical spine. And you're just paying attention to what it feels like to do this. Yeah, good, Robin. Okay, we got about one more set. Then you'll go ahead and find yourself into a neutral position. And now we're going to work in opposite. So your nose and your knee are working in the same direction. So they're both going forward. As your arm pulls away in opposition, it will come back. So your right knee will go forward, your gaze will come to the floor, your right shoulder will pull back. Yep. And then you reverse that. So the right hand comes forward, the right hip comes back, the knee or the nose comes to the sky. There we go. And you've got about 5 to 10 of these. And so you coordinate this for yourself. So the shoulder is working in opposition to the hip and the nose. Keep that arm straight, Barbara. There you go. And you're just noticing what this feels like. So we're trying to get the shoulder girdle to work, the hip. There you go, Julie. Yep, there you go. And it's a little bit of a mind tease because you have to notice that the arm and the leg are doing different things, but the head and the hips are doing the same thing. Nice work. Awesome sauce. And then let's go ahead and come to a still neutral spot, stacking hands right on top of each other, hips on top of each other, head in neutral. Next in breath, sweep your right hand along the floor up and over your head and back behind you for a supine twist. And you'll just notice how this feels. You might even take your gaze over to that right hand. Oh, that looks good, Robin. And you just pause and you breathe, and you'll notice that maybe the twist is a little bit easier on this side. Yeah. And then continue to roll onto your back to the right, come back to center. Now, once you find yourself back here, again, notice what it feels like to have your hips underneath your shoulders, feet in line with hips. You might go ahead and move that blanket out at this point in time so it's not underneath you, but you might keep it there depending upon if that felt good on your neck. And then I want you to take a few pelvic nutations. So keep the feet rooted in the floor. Inhale, arch your pubic bone forward into the floor. And then exhale, curl the low belly in, round through the low back, press the low back into the floor. And you've got about 4 to 5 of these. So inhaling, arching the low back, finding that pelvic nutation, exhaling, rounding the low belly, pushing the low back into the floor. And just noticing how that feels in the spine. So hips stay connected to the floor the whole time. And it's just like you're taking a cat and cow only in the pelvic girdle. There we go. Nice. Yeah, good, Julie. Good, Jenny. Good, Barbara. Yeah, you can do a little less, Steve. Fantastic. Good job there. All right, let's go ahead and come to neutral, come to stillness. Draw your right knee into your chest. Some of you will choose to stay right here. Some of you might rock a little bit, drawing little half circles with that right thigh, seeing how that feels moving in the hip socket. Again, you're just noticing how it feels. We spend a lot of time trying to over effort in ways that sometimes we just don't really need to. Your value and worth as a human is not dependent upon all the things you're able to produce. It's based upon how you are as a person, just your sense of being. All right, let's go ahead and come to a still neutral spot. Bring your hands to the back of your right thigh. And then we're going to just take some nerve flossing here. So you'll inhale and extend the right foot up towards the sky, straightening the right leg. And then exhale, bending the knee, hugging the thigh into the chest. And we've got about 5 more of these. So inhaling, straightening the leg, reaching the foot up. And exhaling, compressing the thigh into the belly, pulling the thigh in closely. Yep, and you've got 4 more on your own. And notice if it feels good for you to flex your foot when it gets all the way to the top, when it's straight, when the leg is straight, or if you want to point your foot. You're good, Julie. We've got 3 more. We've got 1 more. The next time your right leg is up towards the sky, you're going to pause there. Really flex through that right foot, press the heel up, pull your toes down, and then pull your thigh towards your chest as you kick your thigh away from your chest. And just feel what it feels like to energize the back of your leg, the back of the heel, reaching up, 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 up. Great. Go ahead and release your hands out to the side. Keep your leg as it is. Turn your right toes to the right, bend your right knee, cross your right ankle over the top of your left thigh, thread your hands through the little triangle hole of your legs, and either grab the back of the left thigh or the front of the left shin. And then I want you to press your right ankle against your left thigh. And notice for you if it feels like you want to press your right forearm into your right thigh to draw your right knee away from you. If it feels like you want to pull your legs closer to you as you press your right knee isometrically away. Check in with your left hip and make sure it's as weighted as your right hip. There you go. Then you just pause and you breathe. And then very gently, you're going to just release your arms. So keep the legs as they are. Arms come back out to a T. Lower your left foot to the floor. Keep the right foot as it is. Great. Now, keeping your ankle as it is, you're going to roll your legs over to the right. So your right ankle will stay on the top of your left thigh, left knee will come to the floor, and then you will find yourself in this twist where your right ankle is on top of your left knee. You can then lengthen your tailbone forward towards your left knee and feel a nice stretch happening on the left side of your hip. And just pause and you breathe. There we go. And then Steve, see if that right ankle can slide more to the outside edge of your left thigh. So maybe left knee can come more to the floor. So your left foot might need to come back behind you a little bit so that the leg can internally rotate. There we go. Very gently, you'll inhale and come back up through center, up through neutral. Release the right ankle back to the floor. Take a moment to plant both feet and take those pelvic rocks again. So just noticing what it feels like to imprint the low belly into the spine into the floor, and then what it feels like to arch the low back away from the floor, finding space there. How does it feel right to left? There we go. And then when you're ready, you'll go ahead and come to a still neutral spine. Draw your left knee into your chest, hugging the knee really tightly and compactly. And you might stay still. You might take those little half circles where you move the thigh bone in the hip socket. And just feel what that feels like and notice if you went both directions. And then we'll find ourselves into a neutral still spot. Bring both hands to the back of your left thigh. Inhale, reach your left foot up towards the sky, straighten the left leg long. And then exhale, bend the knee, hug the knee into the chest. And you've got 5 more just like that. And again, you'll notice, do you want to point the foot once the leg is straight? Do you want to flex the foot? And you just pause again, your breathing. And you just want to move at a pace that allows you to deepen your breath. So this one is one we actually want to take our time with, cultivating a deep breath as we move through our full range of motion here. Okay, we've got about 1 more. Nice job, guys. The next time your left leg is straight, you'll go ahead and stay there. Really flex through the left foot. So send the inner edge of your foot up, send the back of the heel up. Draw the pinky toes down even more. Yep, draw the big toe down. And kick your thigh into your hands and pull your thigh towards your chest. And you just pause here. Notice if there's any gripping around your shoulders, around your jaw, and you breathe. Nice work. Keep your leg as it is. Release your arms out to the side. Turn your left toes to the left. Externally rotate that whole leg. Bend your left knee. Cross your left ankle over the top of your right thigh. And then thread your hands through the triangular hole of your legs. Grab the back of your right thigh, front of your right shin. And then you'll take a few breath cycles here. Again, press that left outer edge of your ankle into your right thigh. Notice if you want to use your left forearm to pry the left knee away from you. Great. Check in with your right hip. Make sure that's as rooted as your left. Yeah. And then you just pause and you breathe. Is there any tension around your shoulders or jaw that's not needed? Nice work, guys. 1 more breath cycle here. Keep your legs as they are. Release your arms back to that T shape out to the right and to the left. Lower your right foot back to the floor. And then you're going to drop both of your legs over to the left. So the left ankle will stay on the top of the right thigh. It might move a little bit more towards the outer edge of your right knee if that feels better for you. And you're just going to feel a nice sensation. So Julie, come out of that for me. Take your right foot a little bit more to your right. Yep, and then fall over to the left. Okay, and then see if you can just relax. There you go. And then you'll just pause and you'll breathe. And you'll notice what you notice. On your next in-breath, you'll gently come back onto your back. You'll release that left foot next to the right. You'll take your pelvic rocks once again and just notice what you notice. How is the spine? How is the pelvis? How are the hips? All right. And then we'll go ahead and come to a neutral position. If you have something underneath your head, please remove that now. And then step your feet in so they're hip distance apart and your heels are pretty close to your pelvis. Then cactus your arms out to the right and to the left like little goalposts. Okay, now I want you to turn your fingers, your whole forearms, so your fingers point straight up to the sky. So your elbows are still on the floor, but your whole forearm points straight up to the sky. There we go. Fantastic. Now really activate those arms. You're good, Robin. On your next inhale, push down through your feet, push down through your arms, lift your hips high. Okay. Now, keeping your hips high, you're going to slowly lower your hands so the backs of the hands come to the floor alongside your ears. And you want to move slowly because you'll notice that the shoulders may not like this. Yeah. And then very gently, you'll lower your pelvis back down. You'll take a moment to notice how this feels in the hips and in the shoulders. Then open your arms out, so straighten at the elbows so the arms are back in that T shape. Slide your arms down alongside your hips. Bend your elbows so your fingertips point straight up to the sky. Great. Now palms face in. Yep. Inhale, push through the feet, push through the elbows, lift the hips high. Notice what it feels like now to press into the back of your shoulder blades. Notice now what it feels like to press on the outer arm bones. Notice what it feels like to push in the back of your head. And you'll just breathe here for a few breath cycles, finding these other points of contact. The end of your next exhalation, you'll lower your pelvis back down to the floor. Extend your arms alongside your hips, palms face up. Inhale, push through the feet, push through the arms, lift the hips high. Now again, press into the outer edges of your upper arms. Press into the backs of your hands. Push down into the center of your skull where you're right between where your ears are. And then start to activate the legs. Push down through your feet and think of pulling your feet back towards you, but sliding your pelvis forward towards your knees. And you'll breathe for 3. You'll breathe for 2. Keep pressing into the arms. Keep breathing for 2 and lower all the way down. Nice work. Once your pelvis touches the floor, open your arms just a little bit right to left. Check in with how your shoulders are feeling now. Check in with how your head, or rather your hips, are feeling now. And then gently draw your knees into your chest. Slide your hands through the inner edges of your thighs. Grab the outer edges of your feet. Slide the soles of the feet together. Open your knees wide. And pause here for a moment in the Supta Baddha Konasana position, really rooting the outer edges of your hips down, arching through your spine like you did in those pelvic nutations. And then notice if you can soften any tension around your shoulders. Yeah. Nice work. Gently hug the knees back towards each other. Hug the knees into the chest, and then plant the feet on the floor. Now, with your feet hip distance apart, I want you to keep your front ribs closed. So draw your front ribs to the floor. And then inhale, reach your arms up towards the sky like happy little zombies. Keep your front ribs closed, but slowly reach your arms up and over your head until you feel like your front ribs are going to open, and you stop before they open. So come back out of that, Jenny. There we go. Keep your front ribs pulling towards your hips a little bit more. Arch your low back a little bit. Yeah, and then go slow until you feel like your arms are up and over your head without the front ribs moving. There you go. And then gently, you're going to release that. You'll roll over onto one of your sides and then come up to hands and knees. Now, once you find yourselves on hands and knees, you might pad your knees with the blanket, you might not. You'll bring your blocks to the upper outer corners of your space if you would like. Great. And then from hands and knees, make sure your hands are directly underneath your shoulders, your hips are directly underneath or over your knees rather. And then I want everyone to pull your low belly in. Yep. And then lift the back of your head just a smidge. Next in breath, reach your right leg back, parallel-ish to the floor. Right leg back, parallel to the floor. Yep. Keep pushing down into your right hand, reach your left arm forward, parallel to the floor. Now we did all that pelvic nutation, so draw your tailbone back, reach back through your right foot, lift the underside of your right inner leg, left inner arm, and breathe for 3. Lift the back of your heads for 2. Yep. For 1, exhale, lower the left hand, lower the right knee. Try that on the other side. So slide your left leg back, lift the left leg parallel to the floor. Now check your neutral pelvis. So the tailbone is still drawing straight back here. Then go ahead and press into your left hand and reach your right arm forward parallel to the floor. And again, we're lifting on the inside edge of your left leg, lifting up through the inside edge of your right arm, and then everyone lift the back of your head just a smidge. Yeah. Exhale, lower down. Do one more set on your own. And the task is to see if you can keep your pelvis exactly as it is. Sometimes we dump in the low back, so there's a bit of an arch. And it's often very subtle, so we don't always notice it's there. Yep. And then go ahead and switch sides if you haven't. Yeah. Press down in the L shape of your hand, Julie. Press down in the top of your shin. There you go. Yeah. Gently lower the hand and the knee. Curl your toes under. Make your way back to your downward facing dog. And when you go back to your downward facing dog, just take a moment to pause and take a moment to breathe. So you were just pressing actively through the hands. Can you still do that to lift your armpits up and away from the floor? And then arch your back like we did in those pelvic nutations so that your sit bones lift up and behind you toward the wall and the ceiling meet. Nice, Robin. And then you just take a deep, steady breath. Nice work. Let's inhale and come forward into plank pose, fallen kasana. Again, push down through the hands, lift up through the armpits, lift the back of your head away from the floor. There we go. Next in breath, shift your weight forward and slower than you want to, lower all the way down so belly, thigh, and chest touch at the same time. Yeah. Once you find yourself all the way onto your abdomen, slide your hands back so your thumbs are in line with your nipples. Separate your feet about hip distance apart and press your toenails into the floor. Straighten through the legs. Lengthen your tailbone back. Press your pubic bone straight down and then scoop your belly button forward towards your sternum. From there, draw your shoulder blades up towards your ears. Draw your shoulder blades onto your back and then lift your ears in line with the tops of your shoulders. Pause. I want you to lightly press into your hands and isometrically pull your hands right to left. Then hug the shoulder blades, the elbows towards each other. And then see if you can lift your chest a little higher for 3 or 2 or 1. Exhale, lower all the way down. Curl your toes under, come back to hands and knees, and then make your way back to downward facing dog. And now in this down dog, bring your awareness to the inside edges of your heels and see if you could root those to the floor faster than your outer edges of the heels. Nice. There you go. Next in breath, sweep your right leg up and back. Pause here. Keep reaching the inner edge of the right leg up, the inner edge of the left heel down. Nice, Barbara. Next, exhale, draw the right knee to the nose. Plant your right foot between your hands. Nice work. From there, lower your back knee to the mat. You might pad it at this point with a blanket or part of the mat or whatever you're using for padding. Great. From there, you're going to start to walk your left hand to the outside edge of your left knee. So bend your left knee, grab your left foot with your left hand. Yep. Some of you will stay there. Some of you will start to walk your right hand to the belly of your right thigh and bring your spine more upright for vertical, to a vertical position. There you go. And then I want you to pay attention to the pelvic nutation. in your hip? Does it feel like if you arch your back a little bit, you get more of a stretch in the belly of your left thigh? Or do you need to imprint the spine towards the imaginary wall behind you? Find where the stretch is in the middle of your left calf, and often what's happening in your pelvis will impact that. Fantastic. Gently release your left foot. Bring your hands to the floor or the blocks in front of you. Keep the sole of your right foot on the floor. Push your pelvis back and straighten your right leg long. And notice what that feels like. So you probably have a lot of, if the sole of the right foot stays connected on the floor, you'll feel a crazy stretch happening across the front of your right shin. Some of you will be like, yeah, I don't like this, or yeah, I like this, and you'll make an adjustment. Some of you will peel the sole of your right foot up and away from the floor. So now your toes point up towards the sky, and then you'll press down into your right heel. You'll push down into your left knee, and you'll just breathe here in this Ardha Hanumanasana shape. And you just notice if you've pulled the sole of the right foot away from the floor, pull all 5 toes back towards your right knee. So there you go, Julie. So the right foot is active. Nice work. Next in-breath, come forward, bend the front knee, plant the foot on the floor, plant the palms on the mat, and step yourself back to plank pose. Take a moment to pause here. Take a moment to breathe here, really lifting up through the inner armpits, up through the inner thighs. On your next in-breath, you'll go ahead and shift your weight forward, and then exhale, lower all the way down, keeping the head lifted and belly, chest, and thighs all touch at the same time. Great. Once you're onto the floor, again, press the toenails into the mat, straighten through your legs, lengthen your tailbone back as you push your pubic bone straight down. Now scoop your belly button up towards your sternum. Keep that. Draw your shoulders up towards your ears. Draw your shoulder blades onto your back, and then lift your ears in line with the tops of your shoulders. Now this time, I want you to isometrically pull your hands back to pull your heart forward and see if you can lift your chest a little higher. Great. Now push down lightly into your hands, spreading wide through the fingers. Yep. Now hug your elbows towards each other. Yep. Now you might stay here, or you might start to reach so far back through your legs that your legs reach up and away from the floor. And if you've done that, fantastic. Keep pulling your belly button towards your sternum so your low back stays long. And we'll breathe here for 3. We'll breathe here for 2. We'll breathe here for 1. Gently lower all the way down. Your choice, come up through hands and knees or plank pose, and we'll make our way back to downward facing dog. Nice work. Let's go ahead and try the other side. So inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. Keep rooting down through the inside edge of your right foot, lifting up through the inside edge of your left foot. Exhale, draw the knee to your nose. Plant the foot between your hands. From here, you'll lower your right knee back down to the mat, pat it if you need to. Yep. And then bend your right knee. With your right hand, grab the outside edge of your right foot. Yeah, great. Some of you will stay here. Some of you will walk that left hand up the belly of your left thigh. And you'll bring your spine up more upright to vertical. And then check in with your pelvis. Notice what happens if you sort of curl the tailbone down towards the mat versus letting the pubic bone come down towards the mat. How does that impact the stretch along the center of your right thigh? Yep, you've got 2 more breath cycles here. Check in with the right shoulder and see if that can still remain open. Fantastic. Very gently release the right foot. Bring the hands to the floor or blocks in front of you. Shift your pelvis back to straighten your left leg long, and see if you can keep the whole left foot on the floor just for a few breaths. Noticing what that feels like on the front of your left shin, keeping the whole sole of the foot on the floor. And then you may choose to peel the sole of the left foot up and away from the floor. And then on this side, let's all check in with our pelvis. So see if you can arch your low back just a little bit. So it feels like your pubic bone is coming forward into the floor. Your sit bones are lifting up. Yep. Reach your heart forward, lift the back of the head a bit. Yeah. There you go. And you just pause and you breathe. If the left foot is away from the floor, pull all 5 toes back towards your left knee. Yeah. And then very gently, we'll shift our weight forward, bend the front knee, plant the foot on the floor, plant the palms on the mat, step yourself back to plank pose. Great. From plank, you'll shift your weight forward and slower than you want to, lower all the way down. Yeah, nice control, guys. Good job. All right. Again, tops of the feet onto the mat. Press down into your toenails. Straighten through the legs. Lengthen your tailbone back and press your pubic bone straight down. Scoop the belly button up towards your sternum. Draw your shoulders up towards your ears and draw the shoulder blades onto the back. Now, isometrically pull the hands back to reach the heart forward. Yep, push down through the hands and wide to see if you can broaden through the collarbones and then hug the elbows towards each other and lift a little higher. Stay here or reach back through the legs so the legs float up and away from the floor. Fantastic. Stay here or hover the hands up and away from the mat. Fantastic. We'll breathe for 3. We'll breathe for 2. We'll breathe for 1. Fantastic. Lower down, come up through hands and knees or plank pose and make your way back to downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Again, notice what's happening in the shoulders, what's happening in the hips, what's happening in the neck. Okay. Let's move on. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. So that's the leg we just worked. Exhale, knee to nose. Plant the foot between your hands. Now root down into your front foot, root down into your back foot, scoop your low belly, and start to bring your spine upright for high crescent lunge, Ashtha Chandrasana. Now, it's been a while since we've been in this shape, so take a moment and notice what it feels like to really root down through your feet, to draw that outer edge of your right hip forward, lift up through that inner right thigh, and then check it with your pelvis. Do you need to arch the low back on the right side, or do you need to sort of imprint, nutate the low back on that side? Fantastic. From there, we're going to go ahead and bring our arms forward into little zombie position. You are going to slide your right elbow underneath your left. Maybe you hug onto the shoulders. Maybe you bring the backs of the palms to touch. Maybe you bring the fronts of the palms to touch. And I want you to notice as you're here what it feels like to draw the elbows away from each other, what it feels like to make little micro movements in the hands to feel the sensation happening in your shoulders. Fantastic. And then are you breathing? Yeah. Now, keeping the arms like this, you're going to spin your back foot to the floor for warrior 2. You might need to wiggle walk the left foot either to the right or to the left, depending upon what feels appropriate for your hips. And you're just going to take a moment to pause. So warrior 2 is happening in the legs. Garudasana arms are happening in the arms, and you're just pausing and you're breathing. Really bending through the front knee as best as you can, pressing into the knife edge of that right foot as best as you can. On your next in-breath, unwind the arms into Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Yeah, there we go. And you'll just take a moment to breathe, and you'll just notice how this feels. Fantastic, guys. Really hug that outer left hip back so the left knee tracks. There you go, Robin. Next in-breath, push down into the front foot, pressing into the ball of your left foot to straighten your right leg long. Sorry, left leg long. There we go. And then reach forward through the left hand, reaching forward, out and down, maybe bringing left hand to floor to block or to shin to find Utthita Trikonasana triangle pose. Now, take a moment to pause here. Push into the ball of your left foot. Draw your outer left hip back. Press into the knife edge of your right foot. And then everyone, maybe you keep your right arm reaching up. Maybe you turn your right palm to face the top of your space and extend the right arm alongside your right ear to find a long side body stretch. from your right pinky finger through the right shoulder, through the right hip, all the way down to the right leg. And then you notice, can you keep the heart open? Gaze coming more towards the right, maybe not to the sky, but just to the right, and just breathe. On your next in-breath, turn the gaze to the floor, bring the right hand to the floor, come to a low lunge, top of space. Go ahead and step yourself back to downward facing dog. From down dog, inhale and come forward into plank pose. Yeah. From plank, shift your weight forward, lower all the way through Chaturanga Dandasana, all the way to the belly. All right. And then again, we're going to see if we can go through all those actions to come into up dog. So first, press into the tops of your toenails, straighten your legs long, lengthen your tailbone back, press your pubic bone down, scoop your belly button to your sternum. Keep that. Draw the shoulders up towards your ears. Draw the shoulder blades together on your back and lift your ears in line with the tops of your shoulders. Next in breath, see if you can lift your chest a little higher by isometrically pulling hands back. Yep. And then reach so far back through your legs that they float up and away from the floor. Keep scooping your navel towards your sternum. Hover your hands off the floor. Some of you will stay here. Some of you will slide your hands back an inch. And then you'll replant your palms, straighten your arms, bring the tops of the feet to the floor, and come into your upward facing dog. Low belly stays engaged. Heart pulls forward. Yeah. As you're ready, make your way back to your downward facing dog. That looks good, Julie. And then just pause and you breathe. Pause and you breathe. Nice work. And then we'll try the other side. Inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. Keep lifting through the inner edge of the right leg. There you go. Exhale, draw the knee to the nose. Plant your right foot between your hands. Yep. Root down into your front foot. Root down into your back foot. And then inhale, scoop the belly away from the right thigh and come all the way up for high crescent lunge. Ashtha Chandrasana. Nice. And then pause. Really push down into the big toe mound of your left foot and reach that inner edge back. There we go. Keep pushing down into the front foot and bending in the front knee. Now bring your arms in front of you like cactus robot zombie things. And this time you're going to slide your left arm underneath your right. You might bring the backs of the hands to touch. You might bring fingertips to shoulders. You might bring fronts of the palms to touch. But then notice where you can lift your elbows in line with the shoulders, where you can find a little bit more space around your neck. Now keep breathing. You'll spin your left foot to the floor for warrior two. You may need to adjust your right foot as well, so it feels like you are in your warrior two for you, or the right knee can bend. The left knee can stay as it is. Fantastic. And then you just pause here and breathe with the arms in Garudasana. On your next in-breath, everything unwinds to Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Reach back and front equally. Nice job. Steve, hug the outer right hip back just a smidge more. There you go. Okay. From there, let's all go ahead and straighten our right leg long. So push into the right ball of the foot, straighten the right leg long, and then reach out through the right hand, reaching forward, out and down, bringing right hand to floor, block, or shin. Nice. And then take a moment. Can you push down into your right big toe even more as you draw your outer right hip back, lengthening through the spine and pushing down on the knife edge of your left foot. Some of you will keep the left arm as it is. Some of you will turn your left palm to face the top of your space and extend your left arm alongside your ears, finding a long stretch from your left pinky finger through the shoulder, through the hip, down to the knife edge of your left foot. And you just pause and you breathe. Nice work. Next in-breath, gaze comes to the floor. Bring your left hand to the mat, right hand to the mat, low lunge, top of space. Go ahead and step yourself back, downward facing dog. If you'd like, you'll cycle through an up dog or cobra, and you'll just notice what it feels like. So we did all those incremental things working into your up dog. And can you still move mindfully through it? Looks good, Julie. And then you'll make your way back to downward facing dog. Yeah. And Robin, draw your chin towards your sternum just a little bit. There we go. And then push from your shoulders down into your hands. Yeah. And then reach your hips away in opposition. Yeah. All right. From here, let's all go ahead and bend our knees and step or float top of space. However you want to get with your feet to your hands, you get your feet to your hands. And then when you get there, make sure your feet are hip distance apart. And then just notice what you notice as you just let the spine hang. Does movement want to come into this shape? A little swaying from right to left, a bending of one knee or the other? Do you want to be completely still, but just take the opportunity to notice what you notice? I can't speak for any of you, but I think the constant doing keeps me from noticing the state of being. And it's not something I think I'd like to continue to do. So see if we can try something else. Yeah. And those of you that are in movement, go ahead and come to a still neutral spot. Inhale, halfway lift, slide your hands up your shins. Yeah. Pause here, shift your weight forward a little bit so the weight is equally distributed between your heels and the balls of your feet. And then see if you can draw the shoulder blades onto your back here. Find that pelvic nutation here. So it feels like your pubic bone is coming forward, your sit bones are lifting up and back. Draw one hand to one hip, draw the other hand to the other hip. Now draw your belly button to your sternum, reach that forward, lift the back of your head. Ah, there we go. Now go ahead and bend your knees and sit your pelvis low for Utkatasana chair pose. Fantastic. From chair, we're going to reach our arms forward and we're going to take Hakini Mudra. So it's like Mr. Burns Mudra. So you're going to draw the fingertips to touch and then you're going to bend your elbows. So we've got like just, I don't know why I think of this as Mr. Burns. And then as best as you can, see if you can hug your elbows to touch each other. And then lift your chest. Yeah, fantastic. On your next in breath, let's go ahead and stand up. Release your hands alongside your hips and just take a moment to stand there. If you need to wiggle the shoulders or shift a little bit right to left, by all means do that, but just notice what you notice. Okay. And then find yourself in stillness when you're ready. Make sure both of your feet are still parallel and hip distance apart. And then we're going to go ahead and bend both of our knees. Sit your pelvis back for Utkatasana chair pose. Return to that cactus position of zombie cactus. This time, slide your left arm underneath your right. Bring the backs of the palms to touch or fingers to shoulders or palms to touch. Now, shifting your weight, make your left foot a little higher. Lift your left leg up and cross your left thigh over. Maybe back of left foot comes to back of right calf. Maybe toes touch the right side of your space and you just pause and you breathe, bending into your right knee a lot. Nice work. When you're ready, you'll gently unwind the legs, unwind the arms, come back to Tadasana and have a little respite. And then we'll try all that on the other side. So feet are still hip distance apart. We're going to go ahead and bend our knees and find our little zombie arms. This time the right elbow comes underneath. Maybe backs of palms come to touch, fronts of palms, or you touch your fingertips. Shift your weight to your left. Make your right leg a little lighter. Lift the right thigh up. Cross the right thigh over. Bring the back, or rather the top of the right shin bone, maybe to the back of the left shin bone. Maybe the right toes touch the left side of your space. Yeah, good job. And then when you're ready to come out, you just gently come out, unwinding everything. And then again, move around if you need to. Okay. Last few things. Still feet hip distance apart. You're going to shift your weight to your right foot, bend your left knee, grab the outside edge of your left foot with your left hand. Now your right hand can come to your right hip. See if you can hug your knees together and then pay attention to your pelvis. Can you lengthen your tailbone straight down? And then see if you can lift your chest up. Some of you will reach your right arm forward and just kick your left foot back just a smidge. So we're not going for full dancer. We're just finding a little standing quad stretch. You might kick the foot back so much that your arm actually straightens. Yep. And we'll gently release that, planting the foot on the floor. Again, moving around if that feels appropriate to you. And then we'll try all that on the other side. So we're shifting our weight to our left leg now, bending your right knee, grabbing the outside edge of your right foot with your right hand, and then seeing if you can draw your knees together. Lengthen your tailbone straight down, and you might stay here or you might reach your left arm forward. And then you might start to kick your right foot back and away from you until your right arm straightens. And you just pause and you breathe. Pause and breathe. Nice job. We'll gently release that. Stand at the top of your space. Now, at the top of your space, let's go ahead and bring our hands interlaced to our low back. Separate your feet about hip distance apart, maybe a little wider depending upon what feels comfortable for you. Now draw your shoulders up towards your ears. Draw your shoulder blades together on your back. Reach your hands down, your heart up. And then on your next exhale, you're going to empty your belly and fold forward at your hips, reaching your arms up towards the sky, head down towards the floor. And then you just take a few moments to pause and breathe here. What does it feel like if the heels of your hands touch each other? So the palms touch versus having the palms away from each other. Depends upon how much movement you have in your shoulders. Fantastic. And then very gently, you'll bring your hands to your bum. You'll slide your hands down your legs. You'll bring your hands all the way down to the floor. From there, inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. As you exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, step back, downward facing dog. Last option to cycle through an up dog or cobra, and then we'll all meet in child's pose. So you'll choose what works best for you. And then when you find yourself in your child's pose, you just pause. Where do you want your arms? Do you want your arms forward? Do you want your arms back? Do you want reverse prayer? Do you want the little diamond shape? Just take a moment to pause and breathe. And then when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and walk ourselves up to sit. And then once again, you're going to grab your blanket. And so if your blanket is still folded, let's just draw our blanket over to our right side. And you'll sit on both shin bones for just a smidge longer. And then we're going to imagine that for some reason we are all going riding and we're like the Queen of England. So we're going side saddle. So you're going to bring your right hip to that blanket. Now your left foot, bring the top of your left foot into the arch of your right foot. Fantastic. Bring your right hand out to the right. Bring your left hand, palm face down, underneath your right knee thigh thing. So the heel of the hand faces down, your left heel is, the heel of the hand is pointing towards the right. Cool. Now from here, we're going to lift as tall as we can through our spine and then start to scoop your belly on the right side and rotate towards the right. Now, some of you will stay right here and you'll be like, yeah, this is fantastic. This is where I'm going to stay. Some of you will be like, well, I think I have a little bit more capacity. So you're going to gently unwind. You're going to take your right hand. You're going to bring your right hand back behind you and see if you can bend your left elbow and grab your left arm wherever you can on the left arm. And then from there, you'll lift up and then you'll rotate towards the right. And then notice what happens if you take your gaze over your front shoulder. So that's your left shoulder. And then notice what happens if you lift your right cheek up towards the sky like you're getting kissed by a little cherub baby angel thing. And you pause and you breathe. And you pause and you breathe. Fantastic. And then we're gently going to come out of this. So if you're holding on, you release the arm, you gently unwind the spine, and you come back to sit in center. And then take your little blanket thing over to your left side. Bring your left hip thigh onto your blanket. Bring the top of your right foot into the arch of your left foot. Take your right hand, palm face down, and slide it underneath your left thigh. And then take your left hand out to the left. And then you might just sit up tall and rotate towards the left, keeping the right elbow as straight as it can be. Some of you may have or want to try the other one. So you'll take your left hand, you'll bring the back of the palm behind you, you'll bend your right elbow, you'll grab onto your right arm, and then you'll rotate towards the left. And then all of us may turn our gaze over our front shoulder. That's our right shoulder. And you may notice what happens if you lift your left cheek towards the sky like you're getting kissed by the sun. And you still want to sit tall through the spine. Yep. And then we'll gently, gently, gently come out of this. So head comes back to center, gently unwind towards the left, release the left hand, release the right hand, come back through center, and just take a moment to sit and just notice how you feel. Great. And then we're all going to turn around. Make sure you've got your blocks and your blankets somewhere nearby, and you're going to make your way onto your backs. So turn around, blocks and blankets nearby, lay down on your back. There we go. And then once you're here, go ahead and just notice what you notice happening in the backs of the shoulders, back of the hips, back of the head now. Gently go ahead and bend both of your knees, plant the feet firmly on the floor. Grab one or both of your blocks, and you're going to slide them underneath your sacrum. So you're taking a supported bridge, and depending upon how high you want to go or how much support you may need, you'll put one or both blocks underneath your pelvis. And you want to make sure that the block is down far enough away from your head. So it's not in the low back, but it's really underneath the sacrum. But if I said, lift one leg up towards the sky and then lift the other leg up towards the sky, you wouldn't feel like you're having that block in an uncomfortable position or feel like you're going to fall off the blocks. And then some of you may choose to lift one and or both legs up. And then again, just like we did before, you'll reach up through your heels. You'll reach up through the inner edges of your feet. You'll pull the pinky toes down. And you'll just take a few breaths to pause and breathe here. And some of you will choose to stay here for a few more breaths. Some of you will start to come down. When you are ready to come down, you'll bend one knee at a time. Plant one foot and then the other on the floor. Great. And then once you've got both feet rooted on the mat, before you do anything, engage the backs of your legs. Squeeze your glutes just a little bit, push down into your feet, lift your hips, and then remove the block or blocks from underneath you. Bring the pelvis back down to the floor. Take a moment to do your pelvic nutation so that you can bring your head in alignment with your pelvis. All of that feels neutral. And then as you're ready, check in, see if there's any final shape or shapes you might wish to do. For some of you, supine twist might feel great. A happy baby might feel fantastic. Supta Baddha Konasana might feel great. But you'll just take a moment to see what would feel appropriate for you at this moment in time. And then you'll just explore that for a few breath cycles. And if you've done something asymmetrical, please visit the other side. And then when you are complete, make your way towards your final resting shape. So whether you want to take Shavasana or Supta Baddha Konasana, or maybe you might want to revisit legs up the wall. And depending upon where you are, if your room or environment feels cold and you feel like you might want to cover the body, by all means, cover the body, whether that's with clothing or blankets. And then when you find yourself in your final shape, I encourage you to take the first few moments here to fidget. So if you need to move the right hip so it feels equal to the left hip, do that. If you feel like you need to move the right shoulder so it feels equal to the left shoulder, do that. Notice if your head is leaning one way over or the other and make the adjustment so it feels neutral. And then once you feel like the shape of the body is okay, take 3 deep breaths. Big inhale through the nose and an audible breath out through the mouth. And at the end of your third exhalation, bring your awareness simply to the exhale as it lives in the body. Do you notice it more prominently in the abdomen? Is it more pronounced in the rib cage? Do you feel it at the tips of the nostrils? Wherever your exhale feels the strongest, the most connected for you, you'll allow your awareness to just rest in that space of the physical body, noting your exhale. And anytime you notice that your mind has wandered, which it may do, you lovingly notice that And gently return back to your point of contact, noticing the exhalation. And I'll just leave you here with you for a few moments, a few more breaths, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, just take a moment to check in. If there's any part of you longing to linger in this shape, by all means, please stay here. When movement does start to call you, allow it to enter the physical form in a gentle, soft way. Those in stillness, stay as long as you'd like. Those in movement, you'll start to extend your arms alongside your ears and stretch and wiggle in whatever way feels good to you. And then you'll make your way to one of your sides. When you're on your side, you'll roll your chest more towards the floor. Press into your top hand and draw yourself up to a tall and comfortable seat. When you are vertical, I encourage you to elevate your pelvis on a block or a blanket. Then take the opportunity to remove any flesh from underneath your sit bones. Notice what it feels like here to find a little bit of an arch in the low back, not an extreme one, but just finding your natural curve. And then soften the gaze or close the eyes and notice what it feels like to then draw your shoulders over your hips. Yep. To draw your ears over your shoulders. To lift your chin parallel-ish to the floor and to relax your tongue in your mouth, the eyes in the sockets. I think in order for us to be present, no matter what that looks like or whatever the situation is, we have to be in alignment with ourselves so that we're not overexerting ourselves in ways or underexerting ourselves in others, but we're really just in alignment with ourselves, with our truth, with our integrity. And sometimes to get back into alignment, it really requires tiny little adjustments. But just as our breath teaches us that we can find that adjustment, make that adjustment moment by moment, breath by breath, I think our asana practice teaches us the same thing. So as we complete our practice, let's go ahead and bring a hand to a heart and a hand to the abdomen. And just find a little bit of gratitude for the awareness that your body brings you every day, that your breath brings you every day, the strength and the courage that it provides in terms of finding and honoring your own alignment so that the gift of your presence can be felt by those dearest and nearest to you. We'll go ahead and complete our practice with a collective breath, followed by a collective Om. Draw the hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Really release the weight of each hand into each other and then release the weight of the hands into the sternum as you lift the sternum up towards the hands. Soften your chin towards your chest and exhale all the breath with your mouth. Take a big breath in. Audible breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. And draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open. The light, the breath, the alignment within me honors and salutes the light, the breath, and the alignment within each of you. Namaste.